How does the Cotswold Canal Trust achieve so much with its money, and why does it get so much through the National Lottery Heritage Fund? So today we're on the Cotswold Canals, and there's been some big announcements on this canal, so I just thought I'd take a little walk through the canal and show you how we got to the point we're at now. This behind us is the Stroudwater, and directly in front of us is the Thames and Severn. Now this is the junction where it all happened, and this area here once upon a time was a large basin, and the original canal came up to this point, and then the Thames and Severn was connected later on. Now this canal takes you to the River Thames, but the restoration in what's called phase 1 of what is a 3-phase project is only going to take you to a place called Brimscombe Port. Now to get there you're going to go through Stroud, which is what we're surrounded by now, and several other small sort of towns and villages along this industrial corridor of the Stroud Valley. That takes you through lovely areas like Cappel's Mill, which has been restored. That was an old rubbish dump that was rerouted for the canal, and there's now a lovely canal side park with a canal corridor cut through it. It takes you up to Bow Bridge, which I've covered before. My friend's got a lovely pub up there, and lots of really nice areas that really make this canal really something quite beautiful. So the canal up here is 2.5 miles and 7 locks, and the eventual aim, like I say, is to get to Brimscombe. There's some issues with that because the developer who was going to do the port site has actually pulled out of the project. So at the moment it's going to go to Stradbury, which is another fantastic spot to stop anyway, and they're putting a winding hole in there at the moment as well as other things. There's landing stages and that there as well. So the section of canal we're going to cover today is the bit behind us, which is the Stroudwater Navigation, and that's 8 miles of canal down to the Gloucester and Sharpness where it joins at Saul Junction. So the Stroudwater Navigation was first put in place in 1730 when an Act of Parliament came in to build it, and they built sections of it, and it was really the first container shipping canal ever in history. And they used to take it up to where the mills were, take it to the mill ponds, lift up onto the next section where it would go onto a different boat and come further forward. Now that was kind of, like I said, built in sections. It wasn't until 1779 that they actually built the rest of this navigation, and this became a full working canal. It was then abandoned in 1754, and it wasn't until the 1970s that the Cotswold Canals came in and started to restore this canal. So as always with these things, pace was very slow to start with, and it picks up as more and more gets done and the locals get involved. And this lot behind us is a truly fascinating spot for several reasons. First of all, King Charles opened this when it was restored. Behind us we have one of the major obstacles, which was the centre of Stroud, which got restored. And then also up there you have the original company headquarters, which is still in use for the Stroudwater Valley's Canal Company. And they're still a player within this canal restoration, and are one of the partners in the group, which includes the Cotswold Canal Trust, the local council, Cotswold Canals Connected, and a few others. And this wouldn't have happened without this partnership. It's really helpful to have everybody on board. So what this has led to is a desperate need for funding, and it takes a good team behind the scenes to be able to get that. So after tireless work by all the volunteers of the partnership, they eventually got some good news in 2006 when £11.9 million was given by the Heritage Lottery funding to help restore this canal. And that allowed areas like this behind me. This is St Cyr's Church in the Stonehouse, and this is one of the most beautiful sights you're going to see on a canal. So just down from St Cyr's Church you also have Nutshell House and Bridge, which is one of the most photogenic parts of the canal network in the UK. This money allowed lots of restoration to happen on the Thames and Severn as well, and it's part of the reason all of that stuff was done in the town centre of Stroud. But as you walk away from here you enter Ocean, and this is kind of on the end of what was restored with that money. So that funding gave the canal so much waterway, but it is isolated. They needed more, and they had several years of being refused funds from different places, but good news eventually came, and in 2019 they were awarded £8.9 million from the Heritage Lottery Fund to restore from here at Ocean back down towards the Saul Junction. This included areas like this where the embankment had to be repaired, dredging work had to be carried out and more. And behind us is the Ocean Railway Bridge. Now this was a major project that had to be done with Network Rail, and what they did over Christmas in 2021 is they started digging this out, and they completed this bridge in 1 week. They had to use the biggest crane in the country to do this because they were really worried about the wind and the rain causing issues. They had to get this done by New Year's Day, and they didn't want wind to stop playing. You can see where they've been carrying on the work here, and this is sheet piling which they've been pushing down into the embankment. The canal is just behind, and this will be cut back. It's quite interesting at the moment because you can see where they've hit stuff like roots and stuff where it sticks up a little bit more. but when they cut this all back, you'll be able to see the canal behind it once again. But this does lead into Bonds Mill. Now, Bonds Mill is a large factory area that was used during the war as shadow factories, and it's still a very active industrial estate and has been for hundreds of years. So they put in a lift bridge here in 1994, and it was the world's first composite road bridge. But they had lots of issues with it, and it's beset by problems from day one. And it hasn't really stood up to the rigours that come with having an industrial use. And the hydraulic lift mechanism was failing all the time. But this week, as part of the Phase 1B, the bridge has been replaced. You can see the crane still working on the project here now, and a new deck has been put in place. This bridge here was put in as a temporary bridge whilst they replaced the lift bridge over here, which you can see is the new deck. It looks like they're putting the lifting arms in at the moment. You can see those just over there. So they will come off the top of there and will be the counterweight for bringing it back down. So the major problem with the bridge was you're on quite a slope here going into the industrial estate, and what was happening is the lorries were coming across and they were losing traction and they were spinning on the bridge, and it just tore up the surface, that composite surface. So the new bridge is a much better structure and much stronger to take that lorry weight. It's also a bit of an odd design because what you've got behind is the old pillbox. When this was a shadow factory behind us, they put this pillbox in to protect it, and they can't have a beam on both sides of the bridge. This is only a single beam to balance that bridge out, so it would be quite an interesting structure when it's done as well, compared to a lot of the other bridges on the network. But what that bridge does is it allows work to carry on up here, and they've actually got some boats through here, but they can now dredge and they can take boats through all the way back and take it to the fields to dump it. And it opens the canal up all the way from here now down to Pike Lock, which is where the current restoration is happening. So why are the canals here getting so much in Heritage Lottery funding? Well, the key word here is heritage. And this is a good place to show it. This is Ebbling Mill, which sits on the canal just here. And this is a place that is full of heritage. This is where the mills and the factories of the Industrial Revolution were fed by the beating heart of that era, the canal. And this winds its way through this valley, this canal, feeding the industry all through here. And all of these old fantastic buildings that are being restored and were once lost to time like the canal are now proven again to be the heartbeat of the community around here. And this is what the Heritage Lottery funding is for. It's to bring all these lost structures and bring them back to life, because without that funding, a lot of this, the canal, the factories and the mills around us would have been lost forever. So that is why the Heritage Lottery does so much for this canal and continues to do so. So there were other obstacles that the Trust faced, one of which was the M5 and the other one was the A38, and they had to get over this somehow. We're in fact under it. And what happened was they managed to get £4 million of heritage funding from Highways England to build these two bridges in front of us. When the M5 was built in 1971, they built both it and its link roads on a large section of the canal here. And this is what forms what's called the missing mile. So Highways England have a budget for heritage restoration for stuff they destroyed when they built new roads, and this qualified for that. So what you have is these two bridges here, one there and one just in front of us here, which are about 100 metres apart, and they form a roundabout up here that takes the A38. So that got rid of one of the major obstacles of the canal, and the other one, the M5, is being achieved right now due to the planning permission that was granted about 20 months ago. Now this planning includes the missing mile sections and takes you from here, where we're going under the second bridge now, right out to the River Froome. First of all, on the top here, you can have a new lock to replace the Bristol Road lock that was lost underneath these bridges, and take you into a mooring basin. There's going to be a cafe there, just right where these piles of soil are here. And then that's going to drop down to the River Froome, which is just over there. That then takes a trough under the M5, which sits lower than the water level of the river, and takes you through to the other side, through to a new lock, which will be the new Westfield lock, and up to John Robinson Lock. That then takes us up to the major projects that are happening right now. You've got John Robinson Lock, Dock Lock and Pike Lock all sit on the Eastern Tin Flight, and they are currently being restored, and part of that is already in water. Now the hope is that the Dock Lock should be ready this year, and the bottom of the locks, John Robinson Lock, should hopefully be ready next year. They can then start getting the gates on and stuff like that, and opening that up to water. They're dredging from where we were just before this segment up to the top of the locks there, through Blunder Lock, which is also being repaired. Then back to the first bridge we just went under, and you can see we've suddenly got a lot of canal in front of us. Now I'm not going to cover this because there's a big video coming on this very soon in conjunction with Gloucester Wildlife Trust and the Cotswold Canal Trust, but there's a lot of work that's happened up here, mainly environmental. So there's orchards up here, there's wetlands, there's vole ponds, lots of stuff up here to offset any damage done to the environment by clearing this canal. Now this canal looks very bare at the moment, but rest assured it won't stay that way for very long. So that's very much a video for another day. You would have seen it on Country File fairly recently as well, where they actually opened up and started filling the wetlands down there. So why isn't this done yet? Original estimates stated this should be done by now. And we're actually on part of the canal now which is in water, and as you can see has boats on. This is leading down to Saul Junction. So we should really be seeing more than just more boats here. We should be seeing boats coming up and down here along 10 miles of canal. So why hasn't it happened yet? And here's the catch, we're all feeling it, it's called inflation. Now the original costing for this canal has gone up considerably because of this inflation, and the insane cost of materials has turned this £30 million project into a much more expensive one, and that can't be helped. Some materials are quadrupled in price. I'm feeling it in my business all the time, as I'm sure you're all feeling it at home as well. So they couldn't finish on that project and they needed more money. So despite the Cotswold Canal Trust having amazing volunteers and all the teams involved in this partnership to get this going, they had to go back to the drawing board. And thankfully this week a new Heritage Lottery Fund was announced, and they're getting £6.46 million to finish this project up to the junction just ahead of us now, which means this project can now carry on, and hope is by 2029 this canal will be fully open to boats all the way up 12 miles to Brimscombe Port. As a canal enthusiast, I want to thank all the amazing volunteers on this canal, because everywhere I've been today, people have been working and they've been very friendly, helpful, spoke to me about the projects, told me what's happening. It's been incredible to have so much information given to me in one day. But I also want to say a huge thank you to every one of you, because during the process of getting the £6.46 million from the Heritage Lottery Fund, they asked me to provide some analytics. So I looked at my videos on the project and told them how many people have viewed, how long they viewed for, and where they viewed from. And all across the world, people are watching this, which shows the lottery that this project isn't loved just here, it's loved all over the world. So all of those views went into the final bid. So I want to thank every one of you. Just by watching these videos, you've helped this canal get over the line. Now we're going to see a canal under the M5. We're going to see all the new canal cut. We're going to see all the composite lock gates that are currently being design fitted. We're going to see this canal finally in water. So that 2029 opening is quite fitting, because it's 250 years after the opening of this canal in 1779 that we're finally going to see boats going back up, and that's less than 4 years away from now. So the canal does need volunteers to help push this over the line. So in the description you'll find a link to the Cotswold Canal Trust and their new website where you can sign up to become a volunteer. You can be muddy boots, you can be clean boots, whatever you want to do, everything helps. So please do have a look at that and see if you can join up. So a huge thank you to all the partners involved in this. I can't wait to see the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal connected to about 12 miles of waterway up through there. And I also want you all to tap yourself on the back, because as I said, all of you have helped towards this project. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.